The breaking point. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council gleamed under the light of 3 artificial suns, its crystalline dome refracting rays into a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the gathering of nearly 300 species. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the center platform, her navy dress uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and bio-augmented attire of the alien representatives. At 45, Reyes had the weathered look of someone who had seen too much. Her dark hair, streaked with premature silver, was pulled back tightly. 20 years ago, she had been the youngest captain in Earth's defense fleet. Now, she was about to become the last human ambassador to the Galactic Council. Distinguished members of the Council, she began, her voice clear and unwavering. For 80 years, humanity has sat among you as a junior partner. We have contributed our resources, shared our culture, and followed your directives, even when those directives held us back. From their elevated position, the 7 high mediators watched impassively. The Jaxiri representative, a being of living crystal and light, emitted a pulse of blue, a sign of disapproval. The Voskan delegate, with his 4 arms crossed against his chest, made no attempt to hide his satisfaction. Today, by unanimous vote of Earth's unified government and all 42 human colonies, we formally withdraw from the Galactic Council and all associated treaties. A murmur rippled through the assembly. Not surprise. Everyone knew this was coming, but relief from many. Only Ambassador Trellos of the Parathi showed genuine concern, his feathered crest drooping in what humans had learned was their expression of sorrow. High Mediator Zoltan rose from her floating days. Ancient even by council standards, the Omenry matriarch had translucent skin that revealed the flow of purple fluid through her circulatory system. The council has only ever acted for the safety of all species, she said, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. Humans advance too quickly. You take risks that threaten cosmic stability. Commander Reyes smiled without humor. And that's why we're leaving. Humanity is tired of being held back by your fear. For 3 decades, we've requested permission to colonize the Vega sector. For 3 decades, you've denied us while keeping the sector empty, claiming it as a cultural preserve, despite containing no sentient life. The Council's decisions consider factors beyond human understanding, countered the Voskan delegate. You will lose the protection of collective defense, the shared technological advancement. What advancement? Reyes interrupted sharply. You've denied us access to half your technologies, claiming we weren't ready, while freely sharing them among yourselves. We've given far more than we've received. The truth of her words hung in the air. Many delegates looked away, unable to meet her gaze. Your departure is recorded, High Mediator Zoltan said formally. Earth and all human territories are no longer under Council protection or bound by Council law. Reyes nodded once and removed her ambassador's insignia, placing it on the podium. She turned to leave, then paused, looking back over her shoulder. You'll miss us when the storm comes. Outside the chamber, Captain Javier Santos waited, his face grim. It's done. It's done, Reyes confirmed. Set course for Earth. As their ship pulled away from the massive Council station, Reyes watched the structure grow smaller through the viewport. 80 years of cooperation ended today. They think they're safer without us, Santos said quietly. Reyes shook her head. The galaxy is changing. Something's coming. I've seen the reports our deep space probes brought back from the Cygnus Void. The Council ignores anything that doesn't fit their 10,000-year-old understanding of the universe. The void readings could be natural phenomena, Santos suggested, though his tone betrayed his doubt. You've seen the data. Whatever's moving in the void is organizing, growing, and it's heading this way. Reyes turned away from the viewport, her expression hardening with determination. Now we prepare, without their restrictions, without their rules. Humanity will forge its own path. As their ship jumped to FTL, news of humanity's departure spread across Council space. In high towers and deep space outposts, Alien leaders raised drinks in celebration of the troublesome species' exit. Only Trelos of the Parathi returned to his quarters in silence, troubled by Rise's final warning and what it might mean for a galaxy without humans. 2 years passed since humanity's withdrawal from the Council. The galaxy moved on. Trade routes adjusted. Diplomatic channels closed. Some council members even removed Earth from their star charts, as if humans had never existed. High Mediator Zoltan sat in her private chamber on the council station. Reports from the outer systems filled her holo displays, strange energy readings, missing ships, silent colonies. Probably nothing, she told herself. The council had existed for 12,000 years. They had seen everything. Her communication panel lit up with an emergency signal. High Mediator. The voice belonged to Fleet Commander Vish of Border Patrol. We've made contact with something. You need to see this. The screen changed. Zoltan's breath caught. A massive object hung in space, not a ship in any conventional sense, but a writhing mass of what appeared to be living metal, stretching at least 20 kilometers across. Its surface rippled with geometric patterns that hurt the eyes to follow. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Vish said, his voice unsteady. The image changed again. Zoltan fought the urge to recoil. The beings resembled no known species in council records. Their bodies seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, with multiple appendages that formed and dissolved as needed. Where faces should be, they had only swirling vortices of metallic particles. We are the convergence, came the translation, the voice unnaturally flat. Your resources will be assimilated. Resistance is inefficient. Have you attempted diplomatic protocol? Zoltan asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. Yes, Vish replied. They consumed the diplomatic team when they attempted to negotiate. Within days, reports flooded in from across council space. Outer colonies fell silent. Refugee ships arrived at central worlds with terrifying stories. The convergence took everything. Minerals, technology, biological material. They left nothing but barren rocks where thriving worlds had once been. The council called an emergency session. The great chamber that had once been filled with calm discussion now echoed with panicked voices. They destroyed 4 Voskan colonies in 8 days. Our defense fleet was annihilated near the Crab Nebula. They're heading toward the central systems. Ambassador Trelos stood shakily, age having bent his once proud frame. We must contact Earth, he said. The chamber fell silent. Humans were always better at fighting than we were. Trelos continued. We need them. High Mediator Zoltan shook her head. Impossible. After how we treated them. After they left. They will never help us. We should at least try, Trelos insisted. The debate raged for hours while more reports of destruction came in. Finally, they voted. The motion to contact Earth failed by a narrow margin. Pride and fear won out over desperation. Instead, the Council gathered its combined military forces, ships that had not seen real combat in centuries. They formed a defensive line at Proxima Centauri, a major hub world just 12 light years from Earth. The convergence arrived 3 days later. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. Council technology, advanced in so many ways, proved useless against the convergence's weapons. Their shields couldn't withstand the strange energy that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Their weapons barely damaged the massive entities. Fleet Admiral Corvus watched from his command vessel as his fleet was torn apart. Retreat, he ordered, his voice hollow. Send word to all worlds. Evacuate while you can. As his ship jumped away from the massacre, Corvus thought of Commander Rice's final words to the Council 2 years ago. You'll miss us when the storm comes. The storm had arrived, and humanity was nowhere to be found. Or so they thought. At the edge of what was once Council space, Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Intrepid picked up the distress signals. She watched the data streams with narrowed eyes. Earth had been monitoring the situation since the first reports came in. Record everything, she told her crew. Command needs to see this. As the Intrepid silently observed from a safe distance, Chen made a decision that would change the course of the war. Set course to intercept that refugee ship, she ordered, pointing to a small vessel fleeing the battle. Let's find out what we're really dealing with. Return of the outcasts. The refugee ship drifted in space, its engines dead. Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen watched from the bridge of the Intrepid as her crew prepared for rescue operations. Life signs, she asked. 32 survivors, her officer replied. Mixed species, mostly Parathi and Jaxiri. Bring them aboard, Chen ordered. Medical team on standby. The refugees looked shell-shocked as they stumbled into the Intrepid's hold. Many were injured. All were afraid. They stared at the human crew with wide eyes and whispers. Humans, a young Jaxiri exclaimed, her crystalline form pulsing with surprise. We thought you had abandoned this sector. Chen spotted a Parathi male helping an elderly female of his species. Something about his feather patterns seemed familiar. You, she called. What's your name? Trell, he answered, son of Ambassador Trellos. Chen's eyes widened. Trellos had been one of the few council members who had treated humans with respect. Your father. Trell looked down. Stay behind to help evacuate Proxima. I don't know if he survived. Chen led him to the bridge and showed him the sensor data they had collected. 7 council worlds lost in the past 2 weeks, she explained. The convergence strip everything useful, then move on. We've been monitoring since they first appeared. Trell looked at her in surprise. You knew, and did nothing. We weren't asked to help, Chen said coldly. Remember, the council made it clear that humans weren't wanted. Trell had no answer for that. The Intrepid jumped to FTL, heading for Earth. When they arrived, Trell was taken to meet with Admiral Rice, the same Elena Rice who had withdrawn humanity from the Council 2 years earlier, now the head of Earth's defense forces. The command center buzzed with activity. Screens showed battle data, ship movements, and reports from across what was once Council space. Admiral Rice was older, her hair now completely silver, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. Tell me everything you know about this convergence, she said to Trell. He described the attacks, the Council's failed defense, the panic spreading through the galaxy. The Council is considering mass evacuation to the Andromeda Arm, he finished. They have no way to fight back. Rice exchanged looks with her officers. The question, she said quietly, is whether Earth should get involved at all. The room fell silent. Billions will die without help, Trell protested. Billions who stood by while the Council treated humans like dangerous children, a woman pointed out. Director Kazama of Intelligence, why should we risk human lives for them? The debate spread through the room. Some argued for isolation. Earth could defend itself. Others pushed for limited aid to friendly species like the Parathi. Lieutenant Commander Chen stood. Admiral, with respect, she addressed Rice. I've seen what the convergence does. If they finish with Council space, they'll come for us next. Better to fight them there than here. Rice nodded slowly. There's also the matter of the technologies we've developed since leaving the Council. Trell looked confused. What technologies? Rice smiled grimly. The Council restricted human weapons research, called us too aggressive, too dangerous. So we did it in secret. She pressed a button. A hologram appeared, showing ships unlike anything Trell had seen. Sleek, deadly-looking vessels with weapons the Council had forbidden. We've been preparing for something like this, Rice said. Not the convergence specifically, but something. I always said the galaxy was more dangerous than the Council admitted. The meeting ended with a vote. Earth would help, but on human terms. Chen was ordered to return to the front lines with Trell as her advisor. Their mission: gather intelligence on convergence movements and rescue who they could. As they prepared to leave, Trell asked Chen, "Why are you helping us?" after how the Council treated humans. Chen checked her weapons. Because that's what humans do. We fight for those who can't fight for themselves. She paused. Even when they don't deserve it. The Intrepid launched again, heading back toward danger. Behind them, Earth's hidden fleet began to mobilize. The Convergence was about to learn why the Council had feared humans all along. Director Marcus Singh stood before Earth's Defense Council. Behind him, screens showed images of the Convergence entities and their destruction across Council space. Singh was not a military man. He wore a simple gray suit, and his eyes were tired behind his glasses. But when he spoke, everyone listened. For 15 years, my division worked in secret, he said. Even while we were part of the Council, we developed technologies they forbade. The room was packed with Earth's highest officials. Admiral Rice sat at the center table, her face serious. "Show us," Rice ordered. Singh nodded. The screen changed to show a sleek ship unlike standard human vessels. Its hull was dark, almost black, with strange patterns across its surface. "The Thermopylae," Singh said with pride. "Our first quantum dreadnought. Its outer layer is made of entangled particles that exist in multiple states simultaneously, making it nearly impossible to target effectively." Murmurs spread through the room. "The Council would have called this abominable," someone pointed out. "The Council isn't here," Singh replied simply. "We have built 8 ships of this class, plus support vessels. We also have these." The screen showed what looked like small drones, no bigger than a human hand. "Swarm units," Singh explained. "Thousands can be deployed at once. They attach to enemy vessels and disrupt their molecular cohesion." For an hour, Singh revealed weapon after weapon that would have horrified the Council. Gravitic lances that could tear matter apart at the subatomic level. Shields that existed partially in higher dimensions. Targeting systems that learned and adapted during battle. When he finished, the room was silent. "All this time," Rice said quietly, "they thought we were dangerous before they pushed us away. Imagine if they had seen this." "They're about to," said the president, speaking for the first time. "Our fleet leaves tomorrow. The Thermopylae will lead, with Admiral Rice in command." "Rice?" someone asked. "The former ambassador." "The same," the president confirmed. "No one knows the Council better. No one has more reason to prove them wrong about us." Across the galaxy, Lieutenant Commander Chen and Trell moved through the ruins of a fallen world. Buildings stood empty around them. The Convergence had stripped everything useful and moved on. "4th planet this week," Chen said, scanning for survivors. "They're getting faster." Her scanner beeped. "Movement, 2 kilometers east." They found survivors hiding in underground storage facilities. 60 people, mostly Jaxiri with a few Voskan. They wept when they saw rescuers. "We heard rumors," one young Voskan said as they boarded Chen's shuttle. "Rumors that humans were coming back to fight. Is it true?" Chen checked her latest orders on her pad. Her eyes widened slightly. "Yes," she told the survivors. "Earth has deployed the first fleet." They looked over her shoulder at the message. "The Thermopylae." "What's that?" Chen smiled. "Something the Council never let us build. Something that might actually stop the Convergence." On the edge of Proxima space, the Convergence swarm moved toward its next target. Their ships formed a perfect attack pattern, developed over countless conquests of worlds that couldn't fight back. They never saw the human fleet arrive. One moment, space was empty. The next, 8 massive ships appeared, led by the dark form of the Thermopylae. On its bridge, Admiral Elena Reyes stood calmly. "Target their lead entities," she ordered. "Show them what humans can do when we're not held back." The Thermopylae's weapons powered up. Across the human fleet, crews prepared for battle. For the first time, the Convergence faced an enemy they hadn't expected. The Council had feared human aggression for decades. The Convergence was about to understand why. The Convergence hive mind sent a simple message to the human fleet: submit or be consumed. Admiral Rice's reply was equally simple: no. The battle began. The convergence attacked first, their energy weapons cutting through space toward the Thermopylae. Everyone watching expected the human ship to explode or move to avoid the attack. It did neither. The beams hit the Thermopylae's hull. The dark material rippled like water, then absorbed the energy. The ship remained undamaged. "Return fire," Rise ordered calmly. The Thermopylae's weapons activated. Not energy beams like the convergence used, but something different. Distortions in space itself shot toward the enemy entities. Where they hit, matter twisted and broke apart. Gravitic lances, Rise explained the bridge crew. They increased density in a small area by a factor of 1 million. Not even the convergence can withstand that. 3 convergence entities collapsed in on themselves like crushed aluminum. The battle for Proxima had begun. From the remaining Council defense station, Fleet Admiral Corvus watched in disbelief. His own fleet had been destroyed in hours by these same enemies. Now, humans were winning. "Impossible," he whispered. Next to him, an officer received a transmission. "Sir, there's a human ship requesting permission to dock. They have rescued survivors from the outer colonies." The Intrepid arrived at the station. Lieutenant Commander Chen and Trell stepped onto the command deck, where a crowd of Council officials greeted them with a mix of hope and suspicion. "You're actually helping us," Corvus said, his voice tinged with shame. "After everything." Chen nodded toward the view screen showing the ongoing battle. "We're all in this together now." They moved to the sensor station. "The convergence is changing formation," Trell observed. "They're adapting to the human attack." Outside, the battle shifted. The convergence split their forces, trying to surround the human fleet. It was a tactic that had worked against countless other species, but humans had always excelled at one thing: adapting faster than their enemies. "Launch swarm units," Rise commanded. From the human ships, thousands of tiny drones streamed out. They moved like a cloud of insects, surrounding convergence entities before attaching to their surfaces. "What are those?" Corvus asked, watching the screen. "Disruptors," Chen explained. "They interfere with the convergence's quantum cohesion." The effect was immediate. Convergence entities began to fragment, their matter destabilizing. Some broke apart entirely. Others went dormant. For the first time since they appeared, the convergence was losing. Their remaining entities began to retreat, pulling back toward the edge of the system. The human fleet pursued, but Rise held the Thermopylae back. "Let them run," she said. "Let them tell the others what happened here." On the Council station, cheers erupted as the convergence fled. Species that had feared and distrusted humans now looked at Chen and her crew with newfound respect. Admiral Corvus approached Chen. "The Council was wrong about humans," he admitted. "We all were." "Not all of you," Chen replied, looking at Trell. "Some understood what we could offer." News of the human victory spread across Council space. Planets that had given up hope now prepared to fight back. The word human was spoken with respect, even awe. The convergence had never retreated before, never lost a battle. But they had never faced humans before. On the Thermopylae, Rise received reports from across the galaxy. Other human fleets had engaged convergence forces at key points. The tide was turning. "Send word to Earth," Rise ordered. "Phase 1 complete. Proxima is secure." The battle was won, but the war was far from over. 3 months later, representatives from every Council species gathered on Earth. The first time aliens had been officially welcomed to the human homeworld in years. In a gesture that surprised many, the meeting was held not in a government building but in an open plaza in New Geneva. The aliens marveled at human cities, at children playing freely in parks, at the chaotic energy of humanity. High Mediator Zoltan, one of the few survivors of the Council's senior leadership, approached Admiral Reyes. "We were wrong about humans," she said simply. "We saw your aggression, your recklessness, your constant pushing of boundaries as flaws to be controlled." "And now?" Rise asked. "Now we understand they were strengths all along." Zoltan replied. The very traits we feared were what saved us. Reyes nodded, looking out over the gathering where humans and aliens mingled freely. The convergence is contained for now, but they'll be back, she said. We pushed them back to the void, but they're adapting, learning. Next time, they'll be stronger, and we will face them together, Zoltan said, if you'll have us as allies. Reyes smiled, a genuine smile this time. That's what humans do, she said. We adapt, we fight, and we never leave anyone behind. She extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Welcome to the fight. Across the stars, the universe watched and waited. The storm had come, and against all expectations, humanity had stood against it. And the galaxy would never be the same again.